The 8th anniversary is absolutely crazy. Every single week we have a new meta, new platinum equipment, new Zenkai, another platinum equipment, releases. It's moving very fast. And now we have to update our tier list again for the Legends Limited Broly getting his platinum equipment. As usual, Sparkings are at 14, Ultras, Legend Rarities are at 10 stars, and Legends Limiteds are at 9. That's about average for all of them. And honestly, I'm just going to give you my old tier list, but upgrade the placement and explain why things have shifted accordingly. So the video won't be too long, but I'm gonna have to justify the way I have things done. So keep your ear open and let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Right, so I've got the tier list here for you guys in full, and that's because, like I said, I'm updating my previous tier list and just adding Broly into it, and a few things will shift because of that. So we've got the number 1, we've got Ultra Gogeta Blue. We've got number 2 and 3, we've got the new 2 boys. They're not especially new, but they got our platinum equipment, which makes them new. Legendary Super Saiyan Broly and Goku Black Rose. Number 4, we've got Legend Broly. Number 5, we've got Goku Black Rose, Xenoverse 2 Super Saiyan, Ultra Super Villain, whatever you want to call him. He got a long ass name. And then there's a gap. Now the gap is important because it emphasizes how much ahead the top 5 are in comparison to the rest of the game. I'll talk about the top 5 in more detail, then go into the rest below that and then give my conclusion. But right now, just emphasizing that there's a gap between the top 5 because they run the game. Then we get number 6, Fusion 13. Number 7, Legend Super Vegito. Number 8, Nappa and Vegeta. They also got a platinum equipment. Number 9, we got Ultra Trunks. And number 10, we've got Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. And then we go into the honorable mentions. These guys, they might make your top 10. I'm open to discussion, and I don't really care if any of these guys are your number 10 spot. But personally, in this case, I've opted in to take Gohan. I think Gohan has a little argument above them, but I'll talk about that later. And then the fan service, they're just characters that people like. They wouldn't get conversation otherwise because they're irrelevant. But at least we can talk about them in terms of glaze. You know, if you like any of these characters, they made the list just because somebody likes them. Anyways, let's start with the top 1 to 5, and then we'll talk about the second half of the tier list later. So like I said earlier, this 1 to 5 definitely carry the game. Now the order you want to put it in is depending on how you see the game, but I've specifically chosen Ultra Gogeta Blue as my number 1 because he faces the least issues in PvP while being able to do the most in terms of versatility, offense, and of course defense. Now I'm not saying he's the best defensively, and I'm also not saying he's the best offensively, but he has things in his kit that keep him at a superior standpoint to everybody else on the list. So with Gogeta, right, his main thing is his Stardust Fall. He does have the it's futile, but it's not the most useful, even though it can do a bit of damage. It can get you out of a bind. He gets his Vanish back with his Strikes and Blast, which is very useful. Main ability obviously draws him the ultimate arts. He has endurance and buff cancellation, and he stacks damage. That's essentially his kit, right? And a big factor is also that he's red. Now out of these top 5, I would argue that the yellow Rose does the most damage, and I think most people would agree with that as well. So knowing that he does the most damage generally, you're going to need a red to counter him, and honestly, in my opinion, the second best damaging unit here is definitely Gogeta, and maybe Broly being a close third, or even in some people's eyes second. But with Gogeta, if he is at third, if you wanted to downplay him, I think he's second most damaging in the top 5. He also had the survivability factor, endurance and buff cancellation, so he can stay alive a lot longer than the likes of Broly, who is also a victim to Stardust Fall. Now the only guy here in the top 5 that's a direct counter to him is Blue Rose, but out of this top 5, I would argue Blue Rose can probably do the lowest amount of damage in a lot of situations besides from when he's attacking a red. So he's high up here because he pairs well with the yellow Rose, and he's also type advantage against the 2 reds, but there being 2 reds, Gogeta can also go type neutral, so it's not exactly the best counter all the way around, and having survivability means that you're not going to get one tapped even though Rose is blue. Now in between that, we obviously have Broly, Rose, Broly again, and Rose again. 2 Brolys and 2 Roses, right? They all kind of lean one way if you think about it. Besides from Rose, the blue Xenoverse one, he has a bit of everything as well, but he's getting color countered by Broly, who is easily one of the most oppressive and also super defensive units in the meta, which is why he's at 5. But if we're talking about the legendary Super Saiyan Broly, right, him being red with no survivability means that he's vulnerable to the blue Rose, but also he can get caught by Rising Rush Stardust Fall, which is why he cannot be my number 1. If somebody can get taken out by a lucky play or something that just nukes them, they cannot be my number 1, especially in a meta like this where, or even most metas where most people just have survivability. So that's why he's at 2. His mechanic is very high up there. Like, he's mechanically superior to a lot of people. people. The cover change thing is very useful and I'm not downplaying that, but his only drawback, and I only spoke about the one negative because everything else he does is fantastic. The only negative is that he can just get one tapped or be put in a situation where he's not going to live the situation because he doesn't have survivability. With Yellow Rose, he's simply being color counted by 2 reds. That's it. In terms of damage output and defenses, he's probably at the top of this list. But if there wasn't 2 reds in the top 3, even if you wanted to say top 5, he would probably still be number 1. But him being yellow is his drawback right now. But he's so good to the point that he can still make a top 3 standing, having survivability, having that high damage output, the defenses, the combo extension. He is very, very valuable. And then down below is the other guys that you'd form teams with because they are just exceptional. So Broly defensively is still superior. The stall game is outrageous. He can also do amazing damage. Every time he transforms, he's got a blue card that immediately hits you, and on top of that, the final full power mode, he's doing a huge amount of damage, and he still has the counter available with survivability. I don't like he only has 1 buff cancellation, so that kind of holds him back in my head. But in general, these guys at the top are doing damage, so that's why I have him at 4. They're doing so much damage to the point where Broly's defenses aren't the end all be all now. He's still exceptional, don't get it twisted, and the gap is very, very small between all these guys, but because there's more offensive powers in the meta right now with the Broly, the Yellow Rose, and Gogeta Blue, defenses are not exactly the way you want to play when everybody can do huge amounts of damage, which is why Broly hits a 4 standing. And then Blue Rose, he's simply there because there's 2 reds in the meta, and he can do a lot of damage and also can tank better simply because he is type advantage over 2 reds in the top 3, but his kit is also very versatile. He has the healing when his health gets low, endurance, buff cancellation, ultimates pulling out of his ass. He's going to do long combos, drawing cards, damage build up. There's a lot good with Rose. I would just say he does slightly less damage and tanks slightly less, but him being advantageous in color really gives him that aspect of superiority on this tier list, but not enough to the point where he'd be top 3. He's simply in a safer position than everybody else on the tier list based on his element. If he was any other element, he probably wouldn't be top 5, potentially. If he was yellow, definitely not top 5. If he was blue, probably not top 5 either. But him being, I said blue, purple, probably not top 5 either, because Yellow Rose would get him. If he was any of those 2 elements, he probably wouldn't be top 5, but him being blue is a very safe one. Green, he'd be fine as well, but not as much valuable because he's not exactly countering anybody in the top 5. But yeah, that's my top 5 there. Let me know what you think. I think the logic I've applied makes a lot of sense, but in your personal experience, you might want to shift things around, which I can completely understand. Now, let's talk about the gap. If I'm being really honest, a lot of these just don't matter, but I think I do want to mention the first 3 after the gap, so 6, 7, and 8. Fusion 13, he seals blast darts and he's element blue. I spoke about this in my last tier list. Those 2 things are very impactful against Ultra Gogeta Blue. Being red, type disadvantage against Fusion 13, and also now Broly, but also seeing blast darts when Gogeta is a range type, that's just very effective all out. With also there being top 2 reds in the top 3/5, Fusion 13 is going to be useful being blue. He's just like that. Powerful opponents is also very, very valuable. There is now 4 powerful opponents in the top 5, but still, he is still an option you can use if you don't have anybody in the top 5 potentially, which is why there's a gap. Legend Super Vegito. Now this guy is an absolute victim to Yellow Goku Black Rose, but nonetheless he's still very effective to counter Broly, but it is risky to pull him out because you'd be dealing with that yellow. This is a 3v3 game, so I don't want to completely downplay him, but just the amount of damage that Goku Black Rose can do, the yellow one, is to the point where it's riskier to run a purple right now than it would have been, let's say, before he got his platinum equipment. So for that reason, he has to drop quite a few places, because before he was actually in top 5 conversations, but even with the likes of Bardock, let's talk about him, I was having him in the top 5 conversation, but he's just completely dropped out because there's no point of using him when there's now 2 reds and even a yellow replacing him in his element. So for the same reasons as Legend Super Vegito, we've got Nappa and Vegeta next. Nappa and Vegeta are defensively great, but that's it. But even the defenses are getting clipped by the Yellow Rose, and they don't do offensively as great as Super Vegito, and you want to be doing damage when everybody's doing damage, so at this point they have to go lower than Vegito. Sure, you can use them for their survivability, but if their survivability is getting one tapped by a yellow card from Yellow Rose, do you really want to use this unit? I don't think you do. So me personally, I have him below Super Vegito and at 8, but there's still a good option if you do want to run a purple. For what reason you'll be running a purple, like intentionally, I don't know, especially if you have all the options. But yeah, next up we've got Ultra Trunks. Really, it's just that he pairs well with the 2 Roses. You can run a good future team, you can get a lot out of him. He's green, so he's having to deal with only purples, but people don't run purples because of the Yellow Rose. Now you might say that makes him more valuable than Nappa and Vegeta or Trunks, but in this case I simply feel that Trunks is not as effective all round. You're banking on two things from him: to take hits and to also get his final hope slash off while having the survivability on his team. When he takes hits, he's increasing the enemy's cost, breaking their combo, but that's about it. The amount of damage he's going to take is absolutely high, and in general, that's not something you want to have on your team, especially when his job is to tank and he's not doing that. The final hope slash might not even kill a lot of people right now unless you have him very highly invested, and in that case, we're giving him preferential bias and we don't want to do that. So he's really just in a privileged situation here, pairing with the two Rosés on a future team. And then Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Now, in my previous tier list, had him in honorable mentions. He's just been sitting there because as a 1v3 unit, yeah, individually, I still think he's one of the most superior, if not the most superior unit we might have in Dragon Ball Legends right now. I'm not going to say that outright, but individually, his kit is insane. He's not doing as much damage as he used to. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying the concept of his kit with his survivability, revival layer, the damage stacking, the main ability drawing one of every card, the way his green cards work, the vanish restore, the damage build up. There's so much going on with this Gohan's kit, even explosive green pulse transform. There's so much going on in this guy's kit that if he's in a position where he can snipe people, he can be effective. Now, obviously, because we have two reds in the top 3/5, I was thinking, let's take Super Saiyan 2 Gohan for a spin. He doesn't have any teams that he can really be run on. Hybrid Saiyans is the best you would get out of him, but Hybrid Saiyans as a team absolutely just sucks. So you'd have to leader slot him on a team, and really, truly and truly, would you do that? Would you opt in for that? No. But if you wanted to, would it work? I used him on Fusion Warriors with fusing Legend Super Vegito and Gogeta Blue, and honestly, the team wasn't bad. Gohan can do a lot of damage to reds, and he actually surprised me. On Hybrid Saiyans, if he's juiced, it's not a good metric to use because he's juiced, right? We're giving him preferential bias there. He's nuking teams by himself. If you just have two other people that can break combos and you can actually just utilize his revival at the correct time, he is nuking people by himself. So overall, I do think he is a good option to run if you want to counter the reds, but you still have to be considerate of Broly, because if Broly's in his face, it's fries. But I don't even think he's that great. He's just better than the guys in the honorable mentions because he has the survivability, because he counters two reds in the top 3/5. So his element is giving him a big boost. And in the honorable mentions here, I think it's some people that you might want to consider, but you don't need. So let's start with fusing Super Gogeta. Do you really need this guy if you have Broly? The answer is objectively no. Super Saiyan 4 Goku, he is solid, but you're going to need to bring the yellow Super Saiyan 4 Goku because you're going to need the second GT guy. And do you want to bring the yellow Super Saiyan 4 Goku when there's two reds in the top 3? No. So for me, he's not making it. KO God, there's two reds in the top 3. No, he's not making it. Janemba, even though there's two reds in the top 3, I still think he is a decent option, but with how many powerful opponents in the top 10, Nappa and Vegeta 1, Fusion 13 2, and then there's 4 up there, so 6 in total. You don't need Janemba, so he doesn't need to make the list. Bardock's getting melted, we already know this. His indestructible will keep him alive, yes, but now it's worse than ever with Broly being in existence, the red one. And then Buhan, this guy here is a Rose Fusion 13 victim. He's not breaking through Fusion 13, and Blue Rose is going to one-tap him, which would be devastating for him. Even Super Saiyan 2 Gohan in this climate could easily one-tap him, so I wouldn't recommend using him. So yeah, that makes my list in total. If we go through it one more time, let me zoom out for you boys so you can see everything. We've got Gogeta number 1, Broly and Rose 2, 3, Broly again number 4, we've got Rose number 5, Gap, Fusion 13, Legend Super Vegito, Nappa Vegeta, Ultra Trunks, and Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. Again, I want to say everything basically after Nappa and Vegeta can be anything. It's like irrelevant. Everything after 8 is absolutely irrelevant in most cases. I might even go as far to say everything after 7. But yeah, that's my tier list. Let me know what you think. That is going to make my tier list. Let me know what you guys think about it. I think it's pretty good. There's not much to say because I only made some adjustments. So yeah, this anniversary has been something. Things have been moving about, and the developers are actually making old things good again. Whoever's making the platinum equipments right now, you need to keep them on the job, Dragon Ball Legends developers. You're doing a great job, and I respect the guy, whoever's putting them up like this, because he's doing up numbers, man. But hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. If you haven't already, make sure to press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 200,000 subscribers. I appreciate you guys for watching, man. My name's Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.